Hey, what's up, stock compounders? Brad here. So it is 13F season, which means we get to see what the best investors in the world bought and sold in the third quarter of 2020, which is July 1st through the end of September. So let's take a look at what's been happening. Uh, there's a lot of great investors, unfortunately, that I follow who didn't do anything in the third quarter, which makes sense. I mean, we had that big dip near the end of the first quarter, and we've had such a massive rebound. There's a lot of these investors just aren't finding anything in quarter three. We look at Mohnish Pabrai, nothing changed. The only thing that did change, and this had nothing to do with him, is Seritage went up quite a bit, Micron came down, so the percentage of the portfolio shifted a bit between these positions, but nothing really to note there. Guy Spier, nothing happening for Guy Spier. These guys are doing what great investors do. Okay, they know how to make money. You don't make money when you buy. You don't make money when you sell. You make money by waiting, and they are demonstrating that in the third quarter. But there were a couple investors who did something in the third quarter. So let's take a look at those guys. One of the notable ones, Seth Klarman. Okay, he bought Pershing Square Tontine Holdings. Okay, that was a big surprise for me, and I was excited to see that actually. This is Bill Ackman's SPAC, okay, Special Purpose Acquisitions Company. And it looks like, Klarman got in on that, right away, right after that was available to invest in. So that's very interesting to see Seth Klarman basically investing in Bill Ackman, in Bill Ackman's ability to find a great investment within that SPAC. What else? We got PG&E, which was added to quite heavily by Seth Klarman. And that showed up on a few other super investor portfolios. So it's something I might dig into. PG&E, of course, I use PG&E out here in California. PG&E does not have the greatest of reputations right now. For anyone who's been following what's been happening in California, there's been a lot of these planned power outages when there's been certain wind conditions and dry conditions because PG&E, they haven't kept up with keeping the power lines clear. So whenever there's windy situations, especially up in the hills in the East Bay of the San Francisco Bay Area, there's fears that trees will fall and down power lines, and of course that can spark fires, and fires are a big problem right now in California. So there's a lot of people who are very unhappy with PG&E, which of course could be part of the reason why PG&E is trading for a discount because there's a lot of people that are unhappy with that company. The other one I want to mention here, Micron. So I get so excited when I get into a position like Micron before someone like Seth Klarman. Of course, I can't pat myself too much on the back because I really just cloned this from Mohnish Pabrai and Li Lu. But still, it's exciting to get in to Micron at a price lower than Seth Klarman. Now, I think Seth Klarman has been in Micron before. Pretty sure he has. I'm pretty sure he bought in maybe like 2016, 2015, and then he got out kind of near the peak in like 2018 or something. So he did very well on a Micron. Clearly understands that business because he's owned it before. So again, it's good to see him buying Micron again. So some activity from Seth Klarman in the third quarter. There's still a bunch that haven't come in yet, guys. On Monday, I'm going to do another video, kind of round two of what super investors are buying, and hopefully I can go a little deeper into the specific positions that I've been made aware of, certain companies that these super investors are buying, and maybe try to value some of them using the 10 cap method or a discounted cash flow valuation, something like that. But I really just wanted to get this one out with these kind of early 13Fs, just to make you guys aware of what some of these super investors have done in the third quarter. There's two others that have activity on here that I noticed. Pat Dorsey added to Wix. It's not a huge add, about 30% he added to that position, but it's a pretty big chunk of the portfolio. And I was a little surprised. I looked briefly at the financials for Wix, and it looks like they're losing money, perhaps still in the startup phase. I tend not to invest in companies like that. It's just too risky. But it was interesting to see him adding Wix. And of course, he's got a new buy with eBay. And of course, Seth Klarman, I think it's Seth Klarman's biggest position, eBay is. So that could be one to look at as well. And then there's one more. I want to look at Daniel Loeb from Third Point. Again, PG&E. That's where I saw that other big bet on PG&E. It's his biggest position, and he just owned it starting in the third quarter. So, somewhat compelling evidence to dig into PG&E from these super investors. And then finally, that's all we're going to look at in Dataroma. But there's an incredible investor that I always like to keep track of that's not followed in Dataroma, and that's Ray Dalio. Of course, Ray Dalio owns, I think it's the largest hedge fund in the world. At least it was at one point, Bridgewater Associates. So the way to find the info on Bridgewater, the way that I use is going through Whale Wisdom, which also tracks kind of recent activity for different funds. You can see here, assets under management, $236 odd billion. So just a huge fund. And it looks like 8 billion of that, 236 billion, is shown, I think, I haven't dug too much into this, but shown here. That may not be true. Anyway, let's just go down to the holdings. So interesting here, the Spider index, the S&P 500. Bridgewater sold off 21% of their stake in the S&P 500. So that's interesting. That's a significant stake that was sold off by Ray Dalio there. I don't know, maybe it's a sign that he sees some turbulence ahead. I'm not going to speculate too much on that, with the change in the White House, Bill Ackman's bet that, we could be headed for some interesting times with flu season coming up and numbers rising with our current pandemic situation. So maybe those play a role in why the S&P 500 was sold off a bit from Bridgewater. Another thing I want to mention here is looks like gold. There was no change. Obviously that's the second largest position in the portfolio. This SPDR gold ETF. So no surprise. Dalio is big on gold, based on where he sees the U.S. in terms of the kind of the long story. He thinks the U.S. is kind of nearing the end of its kind of global dominance in terms of the U.S. dollar being the reserve currency of the world. and he's talking a lot about China, how China is, really going to challenge the U.S. in terms of being the dominant superpower. So it's quite an interesting story that Dalio has about where we are in terms of the long-term cycle of just the U.S. economy. The other one I want to note here is Alibaba. So Alibaba is one that's been on my radar. And you can see here, Bridgewater increased its Alibaba position 40%. Okay, that's a fairly large increase for their fourth largest holding. Alibaba, of course, it's been compared to Amazon as the Amazon of China. And again, it's something that's on my wish list. I'm still working on coming up with a proper price tag, proper price that I would like to kind of enter a position of Alibaba. But, it just encourages me even more to see Ray Dalio adding Alibaba to Bridgewater. So that's really all I wanted to cover from Ray Dalio. And like I said, guys, we're just getting warmed up here with the super investors. On Monday, I'm excited to see really Li Lu. I'm excited to see what Li Lu has done, if anything, in the third quarter. Excited to see what Berkshire Hathaway has done. Charlie Munger didn't do anything in the third quarter in terms of the Daily Journal. But I don't think he's done anything in the Daily Journal for years. I mean, it's always the same the same four holdings in the Daily Journal. Very heavily weighted towards, I believe it's Bank of America and Wells Fargo. Yeah, so that's it, guys. Not too much to report in terms of the 13Fs that came out today. But like I said, I'm going to be drilling into these on Monday, the 16th. The rest of them should be out on Monday, I believe. And so I will report on, another handful of these super investors that I follow to see, if there's anything noteworthy there. And hopefully over the weekend I can do some research on PG&E. And what was that other one that Seth Klarman had? And this one, Pershing Square. So Bill Ackman's SPAC. I've been meaning to look into that. And the other one, it's not in here with the 13Fs, but the other one I've been meaning to dig into is Chamath's SPAC for Opendoor, IPOB. And it's interesting, there's actually a write-up for IPOB in Value Investors Club. It just became available to kind of non-members today, today I think it was. So if you're interested in Chamath, I'm not even going to try to say his last name, but the guy who started Social Capital, supposedly he's maybe a modern day Warren Buffett of kind of the technology sector. And he's trying to acquire Opendoor through this SPAC. And, could have a lot of potential. Opendoor, it's basically buying and selling homes through an app. It's intended to be a very simple solution to selling your house. Because, selling your houses aren't very liquid, especially if you want to get a reasonable kind of market value for your house. So, Opendoor, the whole concept there is, make it fast, make it painless. And I think that could be a huge thing for, people buying and selling homes. I would not underestimate that SPAC by Chamath if he can indeed close that deal with Opendoor. So, I'm watching that. It's not really something I usually am interested in, these kind of startups. But I don't know, there's something about Chamath. In the same way, I want to kind of hitch my wagon to Bill Ackman, which is why I'm going to dig into this SPAC here, Pershing Square Tontine Holdings. There's something about Chamath that I want to hitch my wagon to him as well. I think there's exciting things ahead for what he's doing. But that's it, guys. I just wanted to share kind of those that initial batch of 13Fs that just came out, and keep an eye out for a video on Monday where I share kind of what's happening with the rest of the 13Fs that come out then. So with that, I will leave you guys, and I will see you in the next video. Take care.